Hi, so as far as I can work out, the general consensus is that wind power for your home is rubbish. And if you want to go and spend your dollars, go and spend them on solar, because solar is much better, cheaper, and the payback period is in the order of 7 years, whereas for wind it's 22 years. And I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that because most of the offerings from wind are just rubbish. And I think they're rubbish because what they're doing is they're having a look at commercial wind, which is those great big towers and the massive blades, and they're translating or trying to translate that into a home situation, and the bulk of wind turbines out there just look like mini versions of the big one, and they don't perform. Now, my argument is that the urban environment, the home environment, is very different from the industrial environment. I'm a lover of behind the scenes in the factory kind of programs where they show you how they make a ready-made Sunday dinner. This a half a ton of this, a ton of that, steam, cook it, freeze, dry it, reconstitute it and put it in a package. Nobody in their right mind would do that at home for a Sunday dinner. Approach things at home in a very different way because the environment is very different. Now, when we think about home generation, we can't go 80 meters high because planning permission won't allow you, and the cost of building a tower like that is just ridiculous. We don't have straight wind that blows in one direction consistently at 11 meters per second. We have the wind buffeting around and knocking around the buildings, and it's relatively slow. So there are different conditions that apply in a home environment than apply in a commercial environment. And so for me, the solution to home wind doesn't lie in three-bladed turbines stuck on towers. Say the thing that really gets my goat is the smug assumption that you have thousands of dollars to spend on anything. Who has thousands of dollars? And the problem with solar is, unless you're a research chemist and you have the ability to go into an industrial manufacturing plant, you're not going to be making your solar cells anytime soon. Sun beds the Earth with 20 terawatt hours per annum, and we consume about 16 terawatt hours per annum. So even if we covered the entire Earth's surface with solar cells, it couldn't be the answer to our needs. It has to be a multi-strategy approach. But wind is something you can do something about. Wind is something you can build the machine that you need, in which case, of course, the cost can come right down depending on what you use. If you use brand new materials and state of the art, then yes, it's still going to cost you a fortune. If you're repurposing, recycling or building yourself, well, that cost can be next to nothing. So the implementation cost of wind, depending on how you approach it, can be very low indeed. And you're not talking about 22 years payback period because you don't pay anything for it. So you're able to generate. The thing about wind is the individual can make something to generate from wind. Solar, you don't stand a chance, and you're going to be spending thousands of dollars, and you have no choice if you want solar. So that assumption that we have all those dollars to spend on something, actually I think is really annoying. And it's annoying because you either spend that money, which you may well not have, or you put up with the higher bills and just pay a higher bill. Now, there are companies out there with some brilliant and innovative solutions to home power generation, where you're looking at things like combined Darius and Savonius type wind turbines, or you're looking at things like these Archimedes style turbines, which actually look a bit like a rose, so it makes me wonder about the rose, but people are bringing out really innovative designs. There was an American architect called Duché who came out with the wind wall, and of course we built a wind wall. We actually built his plan. His was all a bunch of drawings, and he sort of calculated what it theoretically would produce, and we actually made one out of plastic pipe, guttering pipe actually, quite a large wind wall that performed really well. Because when you're making stuff like that, the question is how well will it perform in time? And we don't really know until we actually build it and see how well it performs in time. But there is a company called the Power Collective that have produced a ridged turbine that can collect the wind from what's called the aeolian effect. The aeolian effect is where the wind hits a roof, and as it goes over the roof it speeds up. Now the company's claiming 9 times power generation and very low winds that this can operate in, and they're saying that the production of their style of turbine is much higher than a 3-bladed turbine, and that doesn't surprise me in the least. They're also equipping the thing with shutters so that you can be protected against high wind conditions, although they say that it'll run from very low wind speeds to very high wind speeds and generate massive amounts, which is all very impressive. Now, you can actually buy the ridge tile, but I don't think you need to. We've looked at an awful lot of this sort of stuff where we've got these rotors. They're based on air fans. You get these out of fans all the time, actually, in air conditioning units. These, as we've explored, turn really easily in any wind condition. And I think that the Power Collective actually is adding strength to the idea that that particular turbine design is an appropriate turbine design for you to be thinking about if you're thinking about wind at home. Now, as I say, I think wind at home really doesn't have a commercial solution right now, or a solution that's particularly good or can overcome solar. I think wind at home is being left to the amateur. Now, amateur's a funny word because it comes from the French, of course, amour. It means to love. So we are leaving wind turbine development for home use for people who love doing it. And that's the thing. People who do this love doing it. If we can take that, use that, build some of these slightly more esoteric designs, quite a few of which are on the channel, then we can find a solution to home wind. And home wind has a lot more appeal to me than solar, mostly because it's something you can do. Anyway, I thought I would share those thoughts with you and introduce you to both those things, the wind wall and the ridge, so that we had a thought about the options that were available to us when we don't have the availability or don't want the availability of solar. I don't want to stick a load of solar panels up and spend $20,000 on it. I want to make something, stick it up there, that cost me nothing, and I actually get something back out of it. Anyway, I thought I would share that with you because I think those are the options really involved in home wind. I don't think home wind is going to be something that, for a while, you can go out and buy. But I certainly it is something that we can develop, which is why we should bother with it. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please remember to like and subscribe.